Dear students, good evening. Let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 11 July 2018. The first article, pole position, it is about simultaneous elections. We have discussed many articles on simultaneous elections. In those articles, one of the statements which I made to you is this: simultaneous elections may be better on governance, but how they reflect on democracy is a big question to answer. Because elections brings in necessary accountability from the political parties. If we give a fixed tenure to the legislative assemblies and Lok Sabha, can we ensure this accountability? That is what is the major question. Now here, if we have to bring in the simultaneous elections operational, what shall we do? That is what is the question. So there are various ways. One is, let's keep the fixed tenure for the house. It means that 5 years no one can disturb the house. Obviously, it weakens the democratic accountability. The second choice is no confidence motion, which can bring down the governments in the assembly. This has to be tweaked. It means, in the place of the no confidence motion, let us introduce this constructive motion of no confidence. Under this, a government can be overthrown only if the opposition is able to provide for an viable alternative. That is the second choice. And the third thing is, let's create fixed tenure for the house, allow for the no confidence motion, but the newly constituted house after the elections, midterm elections, it shall have the life only for the remaining 5 years period. It shall not get a new lease of 5 years. So it means we have to fix the tenure, and any of the midterm election shall not give full tenure to the legislative assembly or to the Lok Sabha. So these are the things which are being proposed. One thing which is clear in this is the stability is being given priority over accountability. But in my view, it goes like this. When this question has come up during constitutional debate, stability versus accountability, India has always moved towards democratic accountability. So, the debate has come in the context of presidential versus parliamentary system. Ambedkar has clearly voted in favor of democratic accountability for a large diverse country such as India. Now the bigger question is, in the name of simultaneous elections, are we compromising democratic accountability? So that's why Congress party has called this as constitutional perversity. The next article, Deep State Deeper Problems, is about Pakistan. What will happen if a country has a military which is overgrown? Now, in a democracy, an elected authority has to guide appointed administration and also the military authority. So then only we can say the democratic control exists in this country. Strangely, in Pakistan, two appointed institutions, one is judiciary, the other is military, they dictate the terms for the elected officials. And the natural narrative which they take is incompetence of the elected officials or elected executive and corruption in them. And every problem of the Pakistan is brought down to single narrative, that is called corruption. Why economic problems are there in Pakistan? Because elected officials are corrupt. It means their legitimacy is dwindled, and that space is occupied by these appointed authorities. The worst part is judiciary, that is meant to protect the democracy and rights of the citizen, favors to work with the powerful military elite. And in this scenario, recently Mr. Nawaz Sharif and his daughter were ordered for an arrest. The challenge against them, or case against them, is disproportionate assets corruption. And the constitution of Pakistan subjectively states that any person who is in public life shall have utmost qualities like integrity. Then what this stands for, these terms, value term stands for, it is not clear, and it has given for huge power to the judiciary. Because of this, judicial activism has come out. Today, the Chief Justice of Supreme Court of Pakistan, he is actively involved with the administration of the government itself. And military wants to have the politics of the day under its control. So that's why it wants the Prime Minister who can listen to it or who can function or nod its head according to the advice of the military. So these all are making Pakistan a failed state. So here we need to understand one term: politicized judiciary, politicized armed forces are danger to a democracy anywhere in the world. Now, if you take Pakistan, when Jinnah created it, he wanted it to be modeled on modern day Turkey. The Ataturk's Turkey has given primacy to the military to ensure that the modern democracy and republic are survived. But today, Pakistan is more anarchic and is about to be called as a failed state. Rhetoric and Reality. It is about UNHRC. You know, United States of America has decided to move out from UNHRC. The major reason is its criticism on in Israel. And second thing is UNHRC today majorly consists of Philippines, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, these countries. Obviously, they have a very poor human rights record. How these members can guide UNHRC is a question. But we need to understand UNHRC members are elected by General Assembly for a tenure of 3 years and to the maximum 2 consecutive terms. So in those circumstances, UNHRC gives equal place all the countries to represent themselves. They conduct the peer review of human rights of different countries. Obviously, that is going to be politicized. If Pakistan is there, they question the India's human rights record in Kashmir. And second, UN Human Rights Council does a lot of education and knowledge related activities concerned with the human rights. Along with this, it appoints special rapporteurs to report on various aspects on various countries. But many of the times people get confused UNHRC with Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights. So this Human Rights Commission's office is entirely different from UNHRC. That is what is the point we need to know. And whatever we can say, US, which claims itself to be the protector of the human rights, moving away from this international body is not a positive sign, and it is an immature action. And then India-South Korea relations. Today, the leader whom I like the most is Moon Jae-in. Moon Jae-in is on a state visit to India. Now, the first thing which they spoke about is this. Whatever the nuclearization that is happening in Northeast Asia and its repercussions in South Asia, the connections with South Asia is very much worrisome to India. That is the statement made by the Prime Minister. He is indirectly implying that China-Pakistan axis and their support to North Korea is worrying India and South Korea. And second, India-South Korea has comprehensive economic partnership agreement, and now they want to take the trade relations from the existing $20 billion to $50 billion. And third, they want to create an early harvesting scheme with regard to the low-lying or low-hanging fruits to improvise the trade. And finally, these are developing military and other cooperation with regard to various activities in Afghanistan. So, the economic partnership is more becoming strategic partnership. That's what we have to understand over here. Choosing a partner is a person's fundamental right. Now, Section 377, it prohibits and punishes any kind of unnatural sex. One among this unnatural sex is sex between same partner, that is same-sex partners. This is what is called sexual orientation. So, Section 377 is said to be violative of right to privacy. The reason is a person's sexual orientation is more biological, and then it is from within. It is not through nurture. And this sexual orientation is not recognized, and same-sex marriages, inheritance, etc., if they are not allowed, ultimately it deprives an individual his life to choose a partner with whom he or she likes. So that's why the Section 377 has to be stated as violative of fundamental rights, right to life, right to privacy, right to freedom, etc. in our constitution. Data that can save lives. Today, if we can create the big data and vulnerability mapping of different areas in the country, we can bring in disaster resistant structures over there. Let's take if an area is prone for floods, obviously we can make a road that is flood resistant. So that's why India is soon mapping all the disasters in disaster prone areas, and this is called National Disaster Database. And this database will be helpful to effectively handle the disasters in the country. Iran will end special privileges to India. So I will point out one thing over here. Whenever the countries have pointed against India in Gulf Cooperation Council, one country that stood always with India is Iran. And Iran and India have a strong economic partnership. Once US moved out of Iran nuclear deal, Iran is facing a kind of economic crisis. At this point of time, Nikki Haley has come to India and clearly suggested to Indian establishment that it is not in the US interest for India to continue its trade with Iran. And again, Iran has given concessional rates for the fuel, and also we can pay in currency other than dollar. So these special benefits will be taken away if India stops importing oil from Iran. That's what the embassy official says, ambassador says. And second thing is Chabahar port, which we wanted to develop in Iran, which is supposed to act as a connecting link between India and Central Asia, and from there to Europe, is getting delayed. What ambassador says is India is not committed to its investments. So there is a lot of fanfare and hype when Prime Minister Modi has announced the Chabahar port, and it is seen as a counter to the Gwadar port which China is building in Pakistan. But however, these complaints are this particular grievances are very severe, and this question the very strategic autonomy of India. UK failed to have a proper conversation on immigration. It is not just the story of UK, the entire Europe today, they want to make the immigrants as the scapegoats for the problems which the countries are facing. So most of the conservative elements in Europe, they want to show some sorry figure based on immigrants for their failure to achieve development and provide the minimum needs. Especially after 2008 crisis, this particular focus on immigrants has increased. With increase in Syrian war, or immigration from Syrian war and Yemen has increased, more and more xenophobic attitude is visible among these conservatives. And UK's immigration policy are a reflection of this. And the second thing, this Windrush scandal, this is the generation of the population which has entered into UK during the Second World War. Now, UK officials want them to show every document to prove that they are legally living in this country. So this all shows that the anti-immigration stand of conservatives is punishing the people. And then, Krishna Iyer made justice accessible. Now, is justice really accessible in India? So, public interest litigation, and then few other initiates like NALSA, National Legal Service Authority, were created. But still, even today, justice is very expensive for the living standards which we have in India. But however, legal stalwarts such as Mr. V.R. Krishna Iyer made every effort to make the justice to reach to the common man, to the poor and marginalized. And finally, the Thai children are rescued from the cave. It is a good news for the entire world. So this is what today's news are. Thank you very much. All the best.